everyone, to another episode of Figuring Out Epilepsy, where we talk about all things epilepsy plus more. Today, I have a special guest, Josie Martinez you may have seen her on Instagram, and she wrote a wonderful book that we will get into in a little bit. But right now, I really just want to get to know you better. And when did your epilepsy journey start?
Yeah. Thank you for having me, Sam. I'm happy to be here. Um, okay. So I had my first seizure when I was 15. And, it was the first one, so, they disregarded it. Like, okay, she just had a seizure. When I had the second one a few months later, I was 16. They were like, okay, this is the second one. We have to put her on medication. And that's when everything happened for me, when everything started for me. I started having like nocturnal seizures, and I really didn't know what epilepsy was at the moment. I just knew I had a neurologist. I was told I couldn't drive, I couldn't be alone, and I had to take my medication all the time. That was basically all that I was told. That's
Sounds
it.
sounds about right.
Yeah, that's
That's
literally
basically
what
what
I
I
was
got.
told. Yeah, I feel like that's what they tell a lot of us. Like they don't really go into detail much about what epilepsy was. And then like, yes, they told me about like, the hormones plays a big part, and like, period can be like a trigger for it, but not much more than that.
That's
And I Hmm?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. It's okay. You can ask me.
I was just gonna say that's interesting because when I was growing up, I got my first seizure when I was 11. It was
Hmm.
about around the time of my first period, and we had to fight with my neurologist, to tell him like my period has something to do with it. It wasn't until I was an adult already with my daughter, a few years old, when they finally said, "Yeah, your period can have something to do with your seizures."
So you didn't know that until a few years later, and you already kind of had figured it out before, though.
Yeah, because it was it
Yeah.
was it we this is why seizure diary is so important, because we my mom kept a seizure diary of every time I had a seizure, and then she tracked it to where it was always like a week before or after my period. So we would tell the neurologist like, hey, like we think it's my period, because what a coincidence too, my first seizure and my first period around the same time. So after that, we would tell them like, hey, like we think it's this, and they would shut my mom down real quick. Like, no, you're crazy, it has nothing to do with it.
What? Oh my God, that I can't believe that. Like that they did with disregard what your mom was telling them, because even though she had found the pattern.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Even though they probably knew that somehow kind of did play a part.
I, I
Maybe.
mean,
Maybe they did. Maybe they weren't sure at the time.
yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know. It's
Mhm.
just he just the neurologist I've always experienced was just want to medicate it. They don't really want to look for the answers. Like I have to push, or when I was younger, my mom would advocate for me. And then also my mom, she was a single mom when I was going through all this. And she's from Mexico. She was learning English at the same time, so like her English wasn't all that great. And
Right,
she was
right.
advocating with English being her second language and
Yes.
fighting with these doctors like, no, like I've this is the pattern that I found, and you're not listening to what I'm telling you.
Right.
She really had to advocate for me, like, big time.
Wow. So yeah, the language barrier that played a
Mhm.
big part in how they treated you as a patient.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's hard to deal with, especially when you're so little having the episodes and experiencing that.
Yeah,
That's
like you
yeah.
said, we didn't know what epilepsy was either. It was all new
Yeah,
to us.
right. It's like in the way that people portray it, people were like, scared of it, especially in the Hispanic community. We're
Yeah.
not really understanding what's happening to us. Yeah, and obviously, once we're put on medications, we're having these side effects, and we're like completely in shock about what's going on to us.
Mm-hmm.
and the medications are kicking in and the side effects. So we aren't thinking much about to do research at the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I, and I think that's the like a huge problem when you first get diagnosed with epilepsy. You have to do your own research because a lot of information isn't given to you from your doctor. At least that's what I've experienced. And from the people that I've talked to, they've all experienced that where they had to research
Yeah.
their illness, their diagnosis. And also what I thought was also interesting about your story is that you got diagnosed after your second seizure. Mine was my first seizure. They didn't do
Yeah.
any tests for me or anything. Like I don't know if you had an EEG before you got diagnosed with epilepsy.
I didn't. I had my first EEG, I want to say maybe like a few months after I had my seizure. Oh, the second one. Don't mind my brother, he's singing in the background. I don't know if you can hear him.
I can hear a little
But
bit, but that's all
yeah,
right.
I didn't get my first one until like a few years. I don't even remember. It was like a few months, maybe like even a year after. But it took a while for them to do the EEG on me. And from what I supposedly learned when I started doing my research a few years after I finally accepted my epilepsy, was that you get diagnosed after your second seizure.
No, for
I
me
don't
it
know if
was
that's like, I thought it was like that for everyone, but like you said, you got diagnosed with your first one.
yeah,
Right?
normal from the
Mm-hmm.
other people that I've talked to,
Mm-hmm.
they said the same thing where it's like they had a few seizures before they got diagnosed. With me, it
Yeah.
was like right off the bat, like, no, you have epilepsy. I don't know.
Wow. Like, how did they did the EEG on you when you first?
No, I didn't get
No.
it until years later. I think I was
Okay.
probably because I had my first seizure when I was in middle school. I didn't get
Mhm.
my EEG until I was in high school. So it was a few years before I got my first EEG, and my mom was fighting for that test too.
Wow. Okay, then yeah, that's pretty. I don't know. I can't say why they would do that, or like why every case is different for everyone. Maybe because you were a kid. I don't know. Maybe because you were little. But the thing is, like, what's weird for me sometimes, it's like they wait a long time to do these tests
Yes, they
on
do.
us. Like, I didn't get my first MRI until like 5 years after I was
Same,
diagnosed.
same. I got when was it?
Mhm.
It was I think I was like 30. I'm 33 now. I think I was
Yeah.
like 30 around there when I got my first MRI. And
Wow.
at that point, I was already living with epilepsy for 10 plus years.
Wow. Yeah, yeah. So like for them to like tell you another piece of information would be
Yeah.
like
And it
shocking.
wasn't and it wasn't really the whole brain. It was just the pituitary gland because I have finally convinced my neurologist like, hey, my hormones have something to do with it. And the pituitary gland, it's the part of the brain where it regulates your hormones and stuff. So they did that test for that part of the brain, but it wasn't for the whole brain.
It wasn't your whole brain.
Mm-mm. So I got like half an MRI.
I've never heard of that because I guess
Yeah,
I haven't looked into like MRIs like that. I just know that I mean I have, but like I didn't know they can do partial MRIs
the
like
I
for the brain.
yeah
Hmm.
I didn't know either until my doctor was like, okay, we'll do the pituitary gland, and I was like, might as well check the whole brain. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah. I mean,
while you're there,
I get how they can do it, but I didn't think that they will actually focus just on one part of the
one part, yeah,
brain. Yes, yes, yes.
I don't know.
Okay. Wow. That's pretty interesting though. That they just checked that one part and when they could have just told you everything else that could be going on
Yeah,
with your brain.
I don't know. I personally, I think they should just check the whole brain just to make sure I'm already getting this test done. Might as well check everything.
Right, yes, yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, they're like that's what should have been done. But wow. Yeah. I mean, I feel like yeah, like once I've talked to someone and learned what they go through, our journeys are all different.
Yeah.
But we all have some level of what we have gone through that we know is the same. But
Yeah.
our all our journeys are like, it's like nothing's like, oh, obviously none of us are the same. Like none of what we like, our brains are not the same. But I feel like they should have like the same process
Yes.
in order
Yes.
to diagnose us properly.
Yes.
Because like one person does one thing, another person does another thing, and there should
Yeah.
just be like a standard protocol to fully
That's what I would
understand.
think it would be like, but
Hmm.
my I
Yeah,
don't know, maybe because it's the where I live, I don't know.
it could. I can't say honestly. I don't know, but I would. You see, like I thought it was only you get diagnosed after the second seizure. Some people I didn't know people get diagnosed after the first one. I thought it was always the second one, and so I'm hearing this now
Yeah,
from you.
because epilepsy is unprovoked seizures that you're having unprovoked continuously unprovoked seizures. You can
Yes.
have seizures and not have epilepsy.
Right. Yes. Exactly.
There's that fine line. So
Right.
I think normally they should give you that diagnosis of epilepsy after, a couple seizures and not just
Right.
be the first seizure because you don't,
So they put you on medication right
yes.
away.
Yeah.
What did they put you on?
I think it was Depakote was my first
Okay.
one.
Right. Right. So, like in a way, they should have not diagnosed you with epilepsy right away.
Yeah. That I
Right.
mean, that was my
You know.
opinion. And because I had my first seizure in middle school in my class, and
Hmm.
I was rushed to the hospital by an ambulance. The doctor that told me that I had epilepsy wasn't even like my neurologist or anything like that. It was the ER doctor, and he didn't spend more than like 10 minutes with us.
Okay. Yeah,
So
that's
I don't I don't know
mhm.
how
That's
how
yeah, that's a little odd.
right.
Yes, yes, and you being so young. Hmm.
That's why I want to
Uh,
see like a epileptologist. I hope I said that right. I'm so bad at that word.
it's
But
okay. Right.
yeah, I want to see a doctor that specializes in epilepsy to really understand my epilepsy and my seizures and everything because up until now it's just been like vague information here and there. Like I don't
Yeah.
know how was your experience with
Well,
seeing the doctors?
okay. So I had one neurologist when I first got diagnosed. They were very disorganized when it came to paperwork and all that stuff. So I got rid of that neurologist. My parents were like, "Oh no, you guys are keeping up with what you need to keep up with." So they were like, we're finding another one." And then I got my second neurologist, and he's been my neurologist since I was about like 18. And I've been with him since. And he's been great. Um, he answers any questions that I have, and he's just been on it. Um, once I was on Keppra at first. Once they've noticed that my body was like immune to it, they just decided to switch my meds. I've been on Topamax since I was 21, so it's been like almost 7 years now. And so you see, like that's important for a doctor to notice things like that because our seizures do change with time.
Yeah, they do.
My seizures changed around the time that I was 21. It could
Hmm.
have been hormonal. It could have just been my body was too used to the Capra. I can't say. I really don't know why it was changed, but I mean, I think it was just because I became immune to it, but maybe my body was changing. I don't know because our bodies change every certain amount of years or something. I really can't say. Or my seizures were changing too because I used to black out during my seizures, and then I was awake.
Oh, okay,
I started feeling my seizures. I would be aware of what was happening.
that's interesting. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So when that happened, I had an episode where I was just seizing and seizing, and I just I was feeling everything, and then had to stay like a week in the hospital, and they just changed my meds. So that's it. But yeah, my neurologist, he's good. Don't have any complaints about that. So it's very important to find the right doctor that
Yeah.
hears what you have to say and understands you.
And don't be
Yes.
afraid to
So
switch doctors or get second opinions. Like that.
yeah,
I,
that's true. Yeah, so you
yeah.
feel like that's necessary for anyone. But I my doctor, I know him. He's he knows what I've gone through. So I'm sticking with him because he is good. He's good for me at the moment.
Do you have catamenial epilepsy?
Do I have what?
Catamenial epilepsy, where your hormones are affected by, or play a role in
I
your
have
triggers?
well, it is one of my triggers, my hormones, but I haven't been told that I have
You
that
haven't been
particular
diagnosed with it.
disease. Yes.
Yeah.
But yes, no, my I haven't been told. I mean, I do. My neurologist knows that around that time. Well, actually, my mom told me before that my neurologist had said that during my period I was gonna be more prone to my triggers. But then she told me like this, like a few years back, but she had already known this before.
Okay.
So yes, that my period was gonna affect me and my epilepsy more. But I used to like get like really bad auras or really feel like really sick or feel like when I was about to get my period, and I'll be like numb, my lips will get numb, my hands will get numb, and I'll be like, oh my God, what's going on? But then like it was like a correlation with my period. Like I would feel it a week before, then obviously when I got it, and I was like, okay, this makes sense. But my neurologist knows that I get a little more, I have a little bit more
It
episodes.
triggers your seizures a little bit more.
Yes,
What
around.
do you do to combat that? Do they give you like certain medication, or do you have to take more of your medication?
No, I do not take more medications. I take my Topamax, and what if I feel that I get a really bad migraine around that time, and I'm like, if I don't have to do anything, if I don't, I'm gonna just relax, because it's always like one particular day where I have to really, really, really just take it easy. But like just feeling a little numbness here and there, I'm like, okay, I can deal with that,
Okay.
and then I'm just taking my medication. I'll just take my meds and go about my day.
Okay.
But sometimes like it does drain me a little bit to the point where I'm just like, oh, I can't do anything. I'm just tired. And obviously like us releasing so much, we just have to like
Yeah. I mean,
sit
you're
back.
already tired when you're on your period. Add epilepsy to it. It's just sometimes I can't even get out of bed. Like I have to force myself to get out of bed. I have to force myself to eat because I get so nauseous. And
Exactly.
and then I basically have to force myself to live during that week because everything is just way too much. It's so
Right. Right.
I I have to take my rescue meds a couple of days before my period, so I really have to track when I'm gonna have my period.
So you only take it once?
I I take Lamictal and Zonegran in the morning and then at night before bed. But I take
Okay.
my rescue medicine whenever I feel like a tonic-clonic seizure coming on, or if my eyes start twitching or whatever. But
Okay.
now, since my neurologist is actually listening to me about my period being a trigger, he's having me
Mhm.
take it a few days before my period starts to kind of
Mhm.
prevent the tonic-clonic.
Okay, got it. Okay, so you just take it a few days before, and that should set you for like the rest of the week.
Yeah, normally I don't end up having a tonic-clonic because of it, but I do get, like I said, I still struggle with just functioning in everyday life.
Okay. Right. Yeah. No. I mean, we do get very disoriented
Yeah.
if we don't get. If we don't can't get it together if we don't like just sit down and like try to relax or like try to just deal with what we're dealing with at the moment and let it
Exactly.
pass if we can. Yes, we do.
Exactly.
Yes.
Do
Hmm.
you, since your epilepsy is tied, or your your hormones trigger your seizures, do you ever think about like when you go through menopause how it's going to change your seizures?
I have not really thought about that. I'm just at the I'm a person that I take things day by day.
Yeah.
So when I get there, I'll get there. Maybe if I feel like I had to like, really prepare for it, or if I feel like drastic changes in how I feel during my period, then I'll start planning accordingly because I do feel the changes
Mm-hmm.
like now a little bit like for my period and how it's affecting my epilepsy.
Mm-hmm.
Like just in the past couple of months, I just see and feel changes within me.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes. So I think, because with only time will tell how my
Yeah.
epilepsy and my period is gonna change.
Yeah.
So yes. So
Yeah.
we got.
Yeah, definitely take each day. I think worrying too much ahead of time is stressful. I tend to do that to myself.
Yeah.
Like my period lately has been changing. It's 7 days and now it's gone to 5 days, which for
Mm-hmm.
me isn't normal, and it's more painful than it was. So I went to go get it all checked out and stuff. So I'm waiting for the results and see how. I haven't noticed any change with my seizures though. So at least that's good. But I have definitely been thinking about like menopause and like how is it gonna affect me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I know my period's already gonna come in a week, and I feel like numbness a little bit and like just little things here and there. It's just like little slight signs, and then they just go away. And then like, oh, when I start feeling that, I'm like, okay, I'm getting my period soon.
How does
And
it
then I'm hmm.
sorry. I know that you work at a hospital, right? You work at a hospital
I,
or
I I work at a dental
a
office.
dental office. I knew it was something in
Yes.
the medical. How does that affect, how does your epilepsy affect your job?
Um, well, I am just grateful that the people I work with are patient with me because I can be very forgetful. Very. Yes, when it comes to like my job, like it's something else I'm doing every day, or like when it comes to learning something new, it's gonna take me like a little bit of time to just getting used to doing
Yeah.
that like over and over again. But I feel like that's just anyone with like training as well. But like me, I feel like they have to just be a little bit more patient with me and learning certain things because it just takes
It takes a
me.
little bit longer for us to learn, yeah, for sure.
Yes, exactly. So, I mean, I've been in this field for over 8 years, but a lot of things are not the same for like every office. And if you're learning like like obviously technology and stuff, and I'm learning reception work at my job now.
Okay.
And I mean, I knew some stuff before, but like learning a system and software now, it's a lot. You're learning new things here and there, but patience. You have to. I feel like they have to have
Yeah.
patience.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely have
Hmm.
patience with us. Do
Yes.
you do you call out of work a lot?
I don't tend to. If I have to, I feel like it's maybe once every other month.
Oh, that's good.
Yes, because like okay, so like a few months back, like toward maybe like November, October, like I was my migraine was like my migraines during my period were bad, or I was like I was a little bit stressed out at work, So I was like, I missed maybe like 1 or 2 days during those months. But I've been a little less stressed at work, so I haven't called out this past month, which is it's good. But yeah, if I have to call out, it's probably just like for that one day that I have my period and I can't get out of bed for nothing. Like I just my
Yeah.
migraine just takes me everything out of me.
I think that's probably like when it comes to working, that's my biggest problem is calling out too much. Because
Yeah.
during that week, I'm
Mm-hmm.
like I struggle to even get out of bed and just functioning and eating and things like that. So working on top of it is just it becomes a very difficult. I think little things that people normally do on everyday life becomes a much more harder task for people with epilepsy.
Oh yeah, they do for sure. They take a little bit more of energy for us to do, especially if you have to like focus a bit more and actually think about what's going on.
Yeah.
Because we have to like process things right, and we have to like I feel like um we do have to take our time to actually process what's going on in the moments at times.
Yeah, like it's
But we
like
don't over so
buffering.
we don't overwhelm ourselves.
Yes, yeah. Yeah,
Hmm.
it definitely takes a little bit longer to process things, and it for me it feels like my brain is like buffering trying to understand all the information that I'm receiving.
It that's exactly what it is sometimes. Our
Yeah.
brain is literally just like buffering a bit, just like, okay, how is this gonna go? How can we get through this? And that's literally yeah. But there's nothing wrong with that because we literally can't stress ourselves out.
Yeah. That's a huge trigger for a lot of people with epilepsy is stress. So I
Yeah.
think really managing stress would
Hmm.
definitely be beneficial for people.
Yeah, it's a huge one for me.
Mhm.
A huge, huge one. Like that's oh my goodness. If I start stressing out now, I don't even I don't even want to think about what can happen. But yeah, stress
For
is a
me
big.
also it's like emotional stress. If I'm crying, like and crying too hard,
Hmm.
then that can also trigger a seizure. But I haven't met anyone that has that same trigger.
I read a post on Facebook that emotions can definitely be a trigger for some people.
Okay.
Yes, I feel like certain emotions can be a trigger for people. I feel like certain emotions could be a trigger for me, but I like if okay, let's say we get too excited about something.
Hmm.
I read something that somewhere someone gets too, if they get too excited, they can have a seizure.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like that. I'm like if I don't think that happens to me. I get excited. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
but
I mean,
I'll be okay. It depends on the person because it depends on the situation. Because
hmm
if you get too excited about something, but it depends. I think it will have to depend on the situation. Um, when I cry, I'm not a huge crier.
that's
It
why
takes a lot
that's
for
why I can
me.
call a lot of feelings in because when I get to that point of crying, it can cause a seizure.
Okay, yeah. I
So
mean, I've never experienced that, but everyone, it can happen. It
yeah,
could. Yeah.
mine are more like negative feelings. If negative feelings are happening where I'm like just like sad or whatever, not
Mhm.
excitement,
Yeah.
then that can cause a seizure. But
Okay. Yeah. I mean, sadness. Um, sadness is like I mean, you can't not be sad about something, but it's like
emotions are natural. Everyone gets sad, everyone gets happy, excited, it's a part of life. So I think
yeah,
just like stress, you got to learn how to regulate your emotions and just learn how to de-escalate, if you're crying too much like I do sometimes where everything just happens and I just start bawling. Just
right, right,
de-escalating to where you don't get to that point of having a seizure.
right. Okay, like. anger for me. Like I wasn't like a really angry person, but like there were times where I like felt like I should have like expressed my anger. So that makes you know like that makes you even angrier because you never like expressed your emotions in a way. So you
Yeah.
have that withheld. But slowly I've just been like, just releasing that, and I'm trying not to let things get to me as much. And I'm just like, it is what it is.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah. Yes. Because anger is not, it's a very, to me, it's a very ugly emotion.
It is.
It's very, very ugly. Like it's good to get, like, I mean, it's not good to get, but it's like good to express it, but not like to a point where you're just like,
Where you're
I don't
just
know.
you're just being disrespectful towards other people, even yourself, and you know,
Exactly. Exactly.
yeah,
Like, don't get it, don't let it get to that point.
yeah, to that
Just like you
extreme.
can be a bit, yeah, exactly, to that extreme. Like that's just too much. Like you can be angry, yeah, but like don't like no. Like I feel like I have almost felt angry to the point where I can like feel like I'm gonna have a seizure, and
Oh,
that's why. Yes, so
okay.
I do not. That's why I don't want. I don't like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that emotion for me is like I can't
It's
over
it's
bear that
interesting
one.
how like you have to regulate yourself so you don't get to the point where you have a seizure. We really have
Yes.
to be mindful of like what we're going through on a day-to-day basis so we don't get to that point because I think seizures suck, man. They're horrible. I don't know what kind of seizures do you have? I have tonic-clonics.
I have a temporal lobe
Okay.
epilepsy, and I used to have a lot of grand mal seizures, but I mean, I haven't had one in a long, long time. Um, the tonic clonic, I mean, I've experienced it before,
Mhm.
but I haven't had one in a while. Like I'm telling you, I have a lot of like mostly auras at like recently. I haven't had a full blown like
Tonic.
grand mal
Yeah.
or tonic clonic in a long time. So
You're
thank
able
God.
to you're able to drive, aren't you?
I do drive. Yes.
Yeah. I saw that
And
in
I
that other interview you did. I saw
Yes, I drive. I like driving. And sometimes I don't, but I mean, when I'm in the moment doing, I'm like, okay, this isn't bad, like, But then I'm like, there are times where I'm like, oh my God, I'm over
yeah.
this. I feel like that's almost like maybe just like a womanly thing, like where you don't want to be
You
doing
want to
it.
be passenger princess.
Right, like I get to that point. I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to be doing this right now. Like I just like I'm over this. Like I just want to, yeah, yeah.
I want someone else to drive. Yeah.
But
How long have you been
exactly.
driving for?
When did I start? I started. Oh my God, when did I start? When did I get my license? Was it a year after the pandemic? No, I think it was 2020. I have to look at my license. I don't even remember. It was like 2020 or 2021, like one of those
Was it a
years.
hard
Yeah.
process getting your license?
I mean, the paperwork with DMV was always annoying
Oh man.
because they suspended my permit.
Okay.
Yes, they suspended my permit because of my epilepsy.
Huh.
And that process of like, and I had like frequent episodes after that. So when I had to like, wait until I finally didn't have a seizure, like, a grand mal or a tonic clonic, that's when, like, they were like, okay, your doctor cleared you, you're fine. I'm like, okay. But the paperwork was like, it was just always a process with them. But after like I had already driven like when I was like around 16 because my dad used to take me to practice. And once I started like, getting the hang of it, once they cleared me again, that's when I started practicing again. I'm like, okay, let me just see how this goes. And my dad would go with me, and it was a little nerve-wracking, learning and not getting things right away. But once I got the hang of it, that's when I was like, okay. good.
Were
Now
you
it's like,
ever afraid to drive while being diagnosed with epilepsy?
mm, no, 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 no. I was just most like in my teens, I was just mostly sad that I couldn't get my license.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just like, oh my God, I can't live like a regular
Yeah,
teenager.
I I went through that. I just got approved by my neurologist to get my driver's license, and that's all I've been wanting since I was a teenager. Since you're like legally, technically
Yeah,
able to drive, that's all I
yeah.
ever wanted. That's all I ever talked about. And I worked all these years to try to get my driver's license. He finally cleared me, but now that I'm cleared, I haven't gone to actually go to the DMV and get my driver's license. I'm like, man, I get freaked out because I'm like, I think that I'm possibly gonna have a seizure while I'm driving. So that fear, that thought, and then
No,
comes
no,
into my
like
head.
no, no, that's you have to stop those thoughts.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like I don't get on the road and start thinking about that right away, or like even before the process, I was not. No, it's gonna take some getting used to when you first start driving, since you've never really
I know how to
driven
I know how
or.
to drive. Like I've taken my dad
Mm-hmm.
and both my dad and mom have taught me. I've taken driving lessons. I've gotten my permit, but then
Yes.
I had a seizure and it was taken away. So I've
Okay.
taken lessons. I know how to drive. It's just that for me, it's like, oh my goodness, am I going to be okay while I'm on the road?
No, no,
I
like
think it's that
that's
negative talk that I'm having with myself of the what ifs possibilities that could
yeah.
happen.
Yeah, no, I get that, but that's something that you just have to like put a stop to, and you'll be fine. Like you'll get used to it, and then, but then after that, it's gonna take a little bit of time to get used to. But once you get the hang of it, and stop that negative self-talk, you should be fine.
I'm psyching myself out. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, like it's snowing here. Well, yesterday it was snowing pretty bad, and I was supposed to go somewhere, and I was told my sister, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll drive. But then I looked, I'm like, no, I'm not driving in the snow. No, even if like no, no, that's too much.
That's too risky. Yeah.
That for sure. Like I definitely would have like stopped driving in the middle of the highway and pulled over to the side. Like I can't do this.
That's good. That's good that you know when you're able to drive and when not, and what makes you feel comfortable. I think, yeah, really paying attention to that. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
that.
keep that in mind.
Hmm. Yeah, no, definitely. The I feel the self talk is what also helps a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, if my neurologist said it was okay, right?
Right, right, exactly. Like go
Click
ahead
years.
and go for it and see how it goes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I'm gonna that's actually one of my goals is to get my license this year. To actually go through with all the whole process and stuff.
Okay, all right. I think you'll be able to do it. You just have to, you know, put your mind to it. Like literally, just
Yeah.
if it's something you really want to do, you're gonna get it done.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um how are you able to accept your epilepsy? Like what helped you accept it?
Well, what helped me a lot was what helped me a lot was was like learning about it, and when I started sharing my story
Mm.
and not feeling alone.
Yeah.
That's what helped me accept it, because I felt alone when I didn't know anyone with epilepsy. So that me finally talking about it and seeing other people out there with it, that played a big part. Um so I was just like, I yeah, I mean, and I'm living with it, so it's like I have no choice but to accept it. And it's a part of me. It's literally a part of me. So yeah,
I
yeah,
was in
yeah, that's what it
denial
is.
for like 20 years.
Yes, I was in denial for like almost 10 years. So I know what that's like. It's like, oh my God, yeah, I didn't know how to accept the fact that, oh my God, yes, I have, yeah, it's a disability and it's epilepsy. Like, and people hear that and they're like, oh, they look at us like
You're
we're
not
nuts, like, or something. Like, there's not, no, they just look at us like, what? Like, you have that? Like, they look at us like something's like,
like you're faking it or something. Like
yeah,
you're just making things up. Yeah.
yeah, right, exactly.
I think I
But
think it's really other people's reactions where it makes it difficult to talk about.
exactly, that's another thing. Like, when when I first was diagnosed, my dad used to tell me about people he knew who had it.
Hmm.
And he was like, oh, you have to be careful because I knew people who had it and they didn't take care of themselves and they died.
Oh no.
So, yeah, he would like literally tell me that. And
Oh
I'm
no.
like, yeah, he would literally tell me that. I can tell you he did not stop telling me that. Maybe up until like maybe some point last year or a few years ago, he would literally tell me that at least once a month since I was
Oh
diagnosed.
no.
Like, I'm telling you, it was like he would like my dad's an old school Dominican. I guess he didn't know any better. So I was just like in my head, I was like, okay. But then, I started learning more about it. Obviously people can die. So it's not like he was lying to me, but he was literally like like was installing that into my head. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
it was a
I didn't
lot.
know you can die from it until what's his name? Oh man, Travolta's son passed away from it.
Rota's son,
And,
right? There.
and
Right.
Travolta, John, isn't his first name is John, right?
Yeah,
John
John
Travolta.
Travolta. Uh-huh.
John Travolta's son passed away from a seizure back in like the 2000s. That's
Uh-huh.
when I first found out you can pass away from it. All this, I didn't know that you can
Okay.
pass away.
Yeah.
I was just living
No. No.
my life
I
in
mean,
denial.
yeah, I mean, I knew that it can kill you, but like my dad, like the way he was telling me, I was just like,
You didn't want to hear that.
no, I really didn't. Like, why are you telling me
And then
this?
every other month or every month, that's too much. That's way too much.
I was
I
like, what?
understand, like it must be hard having a kid that has epilepsy and stuff. So I
Yeah.
get that they become very,
Yeah.
very overprotective. Like
Yes.
my mom started treating me like I should just be in a bubble all day, every day. She didn't want me to go anywhere. She didn't want me to be alone for any reason. Like
Mhm.
like my brother would be out with his friends and he was younger than me. And I
Yeah.
wanted to be out there with my friends and I was like, "No, what if you have a seizure?" She just wanted me to stay home
Right.
with
Right. Literally.
my brothers. I think
Mm-hmm.
I think that fear overtakes the parents and,
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I get why they got like that. It's a lot. It is. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't want to have a seizure out in somewhere and no one knows anything about me. So, yeah.
I I I plan on having like different family members on the podcast too, but I kind of did like a pre-interview with my dad one time and he was like he told me that he felt responsible for me having epilepsy because he was thinking what did he do wrong for it
Mhm.
to cause. So that kind of surprised me cuz that I never heard. I never
Right.
heard my dad say anything like that or even, hinted at that he felt guilty for me having epilepsy, like if it was his fault, like he did something wrong.
Oh,
So
wow.
I think, you know, parents and caregivers go through a lot when
Yeah.
when they're
No,
caring for someone who has epilepsy.
they definitely do, and they do so much for us as
Yeah.
well.
Yes.
They
My mom still
definitely,
does. My mom still does a lot for me.
yeah. No,
Both my
my dad,
parents do.
yeah, my parents are always there too. But my dad, he's older, but he's still like I'm a baby for him. I mean, I'm obviously his baby, but still, it's like he's older, but he still wants to do so much. So I'm like, no, it's like I have to transition now, and he's like almost like my kid.
Yeah. He still sees you
Yes.
as that little girl. Yeah.
Yes. That's how our parents are always. But yeah, no, this is, but yeah, that's that's how it is. But I mean, it used to bother me when he used to say that, but then I was like, I mean, it wasn't anything that wasn't like scaring me, but I was just like, why is he always saying this? Like he doesn't stop. But then I just like,
It was the fear talking, I think. But
then I
he didn't want it to happen to you.
exactly. But I
Yeah.
mean, I wasn't like not taking care of myself. I was like, I had the episodes that I had that were pretty bad. But then, like, I started learning my triggers, and I just like started managing myself a bit better. And after accepting my epilepsy, that's when I started managing um my
You're
triggers better and my epilepsy
the
better
same.
as well. Yes.
Same.
Mhm.
Well, there was a period where I was kind of wilding out. But after I accepted my epilepsy, I kind of started looking at my life a little bit differently and
Yeah.
tried to incorporate things that will help me live a healthier life and have more control of my seizures and stuff.
Right. Yeah. Think once we do accept it, that's when like we're like our eyes open up, like our minds are like, oh, okay, all right, we have to do better and take care of ourselves better, and yeah, and I feel like that has also it's opened up so many doors
Dad,
as
yep,
well.
yeah.
That has helped do that as
And
well.
it's very therapeutic when you talk about your epilepsy. I feel like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders now that I talk about it more. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
able to be myself more because I
Yes.
talk about it.
Yeah. Yes. That's so true. Yeah. Since I started this journey, I'm definitely more accepting of myself and what I've gone through in life, and like that was like the tipping point for like for everything, like as a domino effect for everything else, for me to like just accept accept everything that I've dealt with, and then just go
Yeah.
with life from there.
When when
Yes.
did you when did you write your book? So she is also an author of
I
a
don't have a
book.
copy by me right now, but it's my book. Lucky Feels Fuzzy.
Yes.
Yes.
When did you write the book?
Okay, so I first wrote the book. It was in 2022. Well, yeah, in 2022. In January 2022, that's when I first wrote it, and I published it February 22nd, 2022.
Okay. What made you want to write it?
Don't mind my brother. Um, well, it was a dream of mine since I was a little girl.
Mhm.
I mean, I still love to read, but when I was little, I was always reading. And I would have a book in my hand, and I'll be like, I'm going to publish a book one day. I'm going to have my own children's book one day. So,
I love that. And I
yeah,
love that you actually did it. Was it a hard process
it wasn't
writing
that
it,
hard of
getting
a
it published and all that?
it was not that hard of a process. Like I thought it would have been harder, but technology now makes everything so much easier.
That is true. That is true.
Yes, technology makes everything so much easier.
And where can we find your book?
Well, my book, Lucky Feels Fuzzy, is on Amazon and it's also on Barnes and Noble. And I also have my second book, which is Lucky's First EEG.
Okay.
That one is also on Amazon.
Okay. I'll have
Yes.
all the links down below. So if you're interested in one of her books, go ahead and check it out. I'll also have a link in my on my Instagram too. I'll
Yes.
put a link
I
there too.
will appreciate that.
No problem. I'm always here. I'm always here to shout everyone. I always wanted to be an author too and write my own book.
Mhm.
And I am working towards that, like exclusive.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I've known since I was little that I always wanted to do that. So I was like, I have to make it happen. And then, the topic of epilepsy was there, and I was like, this is what I have to go with.
Are you planning on writing another book?
Eventually, yes, it's gonna be more geared more towards like, young adults, and yes, it's maybe in the works somewhere, somehow there. But I'll see when it gets put out there.
That's exciting. I can't wait. I
Yeah.
can't wait. I
Hmm.
would I don't know if you've seen the book Simon Has a Seizure.
I did see it on one of your podcasts. It looks so cute.
Yeah, he's actually getting it into schools and stuff.
Oh,
You should try to
nice.
get your book into schools as well.
Yes. Well, epilepsy is such a topic. Like, it's just like it was hard to get into. I mean, I haven't tried doing it as much as putting it out there into schools, but um, I will try because we have to find specific schools
Yeah,
that will let kids will actually
maybe one
read
day.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah. Hmm.
one day we'll see. We'll see. We'll
Yeah.
have all these books just everywhere.
Sounds like a plan. Yeah.
um, is there anything else that you like everyone to know? Maybe book or epilepsy
Well,
in general?
I feel like we talked a lot.
Yes.
We got to know each other pretty well. Well, they honestly don't be ashamed to share your story. You know, what we go through is part of our experience, and everyone's journey is not the same. So maybe we can all learn from one another.
Yes. Yes.
We can definitely all learn from one another in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's important that we, stick together, keep trying to fight stigmas against epilepsy, you know, and hopefully find a cure one day.
Yes.
And
I'll throw a
yeah,
huge party for that for
yes,
everyone.
we'll be there. Yeah, we will be there. It will happen one day.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. You already put it out there, so we're gonna
It's gonna
party
happen
hard
now.
one day. Yes.
Oh yes.
Hmm.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much for coming on the podcast. I really enjoyed our talk.
Welcome.
I'll have everything down below your Instagram, the links to where people can get your book and everything.
Okay, well, thank you for having me. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you. I'll see
Yeah.
you maybe on another episode. You're always welcome to come back.
Yes, I would love to.
Bye, guys.
Bye.